to my tutorial series on Adobe CS2. We've reached lesson 8 in the Adobe Classroom in a Book lessons. Today we're going to be looking at blending shapes and colors and working with gradients. So we're going to learn how to create and save gradients. We're going to add colors to a gradient, adjust the direction and type of gradient, creating smooth color blends, modifying shapes of blends, etc. And should be an interesting lesson. I think that gradients are one of the things combined with patterns that allow you to change a vector-based shape into something that looks more like a real object than just a solid coloring book style picture. As you can see, I have the end file already open. We've got a couple of peppers sitting in here, some blended stuff sitting in as a bowl, and some gradients applied to the chilies. Our start file looks like this one here. So you can see we got a bit of work to do. So let's get going. Working off of page 234. And it asks us to close some palettes and things. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Page 235. A selection tool, step 1. And pick the pepper in the background, which is opened with or set up with a solid fill, and pick the gradient tool button here, and it immediately changes that gradient to a black and white gradient. I don't know if that's really an improvement, but we can work with it. I have set this toolbar to show as many gradient options as possible. And I'm going to leave it where it sits because I think I can see it well enough as it is. And now we're going to start to basically work with our gradient here. We've seen our options here. In the upper right hand corner of our color palette, we want CMYK, so that's set up properly there. And with the gradient stop selected, we are going to grab an eyedropper tool and bring it over to our color bar, CMYK, and just stick it in there. And you can see that the left one was the one we had selected, and now it's applying a color to it. If you show some more options in here, you can adjust the color using the sliders as we've seen before, or you can manually type in values. And step 8 asks us to put in C is 20, M is 100, Y is 80, and K is 0. I don't really like that color too much. I'm going to put a little bit more black tint into it. I think it looks too purpley. Maybe move this away from the pink side too, from magenta side. And on the other side, we're looking for a dark green color. So I'll go back to CMYK and see if I can find a dark green. Or you could alternatively enter the values 100, 30, 100. When you have a gradient you like, we're going to save it. You can drag it from here and drop it into the swatches palette, or you can drag it from here and put it there. I prefer that my pepper has a little bit more color in it than just a red and whatever, so I'm going to bring in another color of red, and I'm going to see if I can find a transition colorish between those two. And could also even add a section of orange if you like. Gonna really limit that one. And see if I can tone it down a bit. I missed. That swatch. Tone down. A little bit more of an orange. Try and steer it away from the brown. Something like that. And notice as you update your gradients here, they automatically work over there. If you want to remove a stop, just drag it off the bar, and you feel free to drop a color on anytime you like. And that brings us through to the end of page 238. In which case, page 239, we're asked to work with the front red piper. Notice that it already has a gradient applied to it. It's a radial gradient. And if we use the gradient tool, you can see that you can change how the gradient applies. I think on this one here, I'd like to add another fill. This fill will be over top. I'm going to take the transparency on it and cut it back to maybe 35% or something. And then I'm going to see if I can make a light spot on it. Just give it just a little wee bit more. That's too big. So adds just a tiny bit of reflection to it. Probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to do that to the back pepper there too. But you can see when you stack your gradient fills there, you get something that starts to look a little bit more realistic. Let's go to select, deselect. We're finished with page 240. I'm going to use the magic wand tool to pick the Chili's text. It's already been grouped, I believe. We'll check it. Go type. I think it's already changed to outline, so it's not words anymore. You saw that last lesson. Object group to put all those letters together so it sticks together and allows us to apply a gradient to it as a whole rather than as individual letters. And we're going to use the gradient tool. Not that gradient necessarily. We want a linear fill off the top of page 242. And on the color palette, we can see all our swatches already. There's a display all swatches. We're going to hold down, pick a swatch. You can hold down Alt and pick a color. And you can do the same for the right hand. I believe the right hand is supposed to go to some sort of orange color, so I can drop that on there. And if you want to put a yellow color in the middle, you can just drop that color on there like that. If you wish to change the direction of the gradient, you can go like this. And you can notice that we've got lime green through to there. If we go short, we've got very little. If we go all the way across, it's up to you. Pick as you like. I'll get it to look a little bit more like the textbook's example. And that brings me to the top of page 243. If you want to use colors that are already in your thing, you can click your slider and you can use your tool to pick colors. So that would pick a gradient out of there. Perhaps I should have held Alt. Apparently that's going to apply that to there, so that's not really what I wanted. Better undo that a couple times. I guess maybe the eyedropper tool would be better for us to use in terms of just picking swatches and then pull the swatches on. Wrong key. Pick the thing, hold the shift key, and pick your color. So it keeps your color palette a little limited. It's probably better than having 50 million different colors on. Gives you a little bit more unity, I guess, to your creation. I find this next part really cool, creating smooth color blends. We have two objects here, a center and an outside. And notice that these objects here don't have a stroke on them. So we click the smallest shape and shift second click to get the next one. So we've got the two of them picked together. Then we're going to go Object, Blend, Make. And depending how thick the shape was will depend on how fast the blend happens as it comes across. Let's undo that for a sec. We'll go Object, Blend, and Blend Options first. And you can see it's picked as a smooth color. And you can see that you could pick one, possibly pick one of these options. I'm not sure. With the stepped or specified distances, there's where you can set those things. And then we'll just remake it. Just follows the textbook a little bit better. If we want to get rid of it, we can go Object, Blend, and Release. Next step is to work with intermediate steps. So we have nothing selected. We're going to double click the blending tool, which, if I remember correctly, is right here. It brings up that blend options box. We want specified distance this time, or specified steps this time. And we want 6 steps. And we're going to go OK. So we're going to click in the red diamond with the hollow square area, because that's the part that picks the object. And then the green diamond. And then the blue square. And you can see that in a way these objects morph into each other. Now the only problem is that at this point we have a straight line, and it would be nicer if we could have this as a curve, because that would follow the edge of the dish better. So page 247 has us use the pen tool, the anchor point, to convert it from a point to a smooth curve. And I shouldn't have released the mouse button. So let's see if I can do that without breaking it. And let's rewrap that. Sometimes I grab the wrong handle, set it as a smooth curve, and kind of pull it out. If you hold shift, I think that should help as far as keeping it orientated properly. I'm just holding the shift with my left hand here. Then let it go when you're happy. I'd like you to notice though that as you pull this out, the objects do bunch toward the end. So we could bring that back in a bit. Might be a little nicer. And we can obviously change it by doing it whatever you like, right? If you wish to change how things work, you can change the color. You could change the shape that you're working with. Use the direct select tool, whatever you want. We could change this guy. And use our delete anchor point tool. Change it from a square to a triangle. Automatically changes it. However you want to do it. I believe it wants us to delete that bottom anchor. And leave it whatever shape you like, I think. Now, combining blends with gradients. We're going to be working with this guy and this one. We're going to, I can already see my object, so I don't need to worry about step 1 in page 249. I'm going to use the blend tool again. I am going to click the top zigzag line. And then somewhere from here, I'll be a little careful in this. Using the, how is this wrong tool, sorry. Blend tool, not the transform tool. Blend tool, and then roughly at the same place underneath there. Not quite perfect, but pretty close. If we, while we're still running that, double click this, we can change our specified steps to 4. Set the preview so you can play with that. I should have probably deselected that area in the bottom. So let's go cancel that. Select off of that. Let's pick that blend tool now. It's nice that you can always go back in here and change these things. Click OK and we get 4 steps in between. If we go in this line now, and click off and deselect it, and pick this line here with the direct select tool, so we don't get the whole blend, just the line. If we change the stop color, you can see that it automatically drives the change through here. I don't think that that was a wise thing to do, so let's put that one back in there because I think we should try to keep our orange color. But perhaps we could increase or add our lime green into that stop there someplace. Like that. I don't know. Your choice. Play with it. Enjoy. And when you're done, if you wish, we can now go into here. If we hold Alt, I will let you play with it. We're looking at step number 8 here. I'm thinking I want the direct select button. I probably want to play with this. We'll see how it goes. In theory, you should be able to work with the actual stops in here, and I think we've seen that before. When we have this set up here, we can pick a particular line in here, and then we can pick this Alt and pick colors, however you want to do it. Thanks for watching lesson 8. Look forward to seeing you in a future lesson, whether it be in Illustrator or in one of the other Adobe Creative Suite programs. Have a great day.